That was Megan Boswell's defense attorney, Gene Scott, who happens to be live with me right now. Mr. Scott, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. I've got so many questions for you, starting with this. Casey Anthony's case, we can all agree there were so many parallels, but her attorneys went to great lengths in court to put on this whole alternate theory. It took weeks and weeks to hear out that whole alternate theory, and she was acquitted. You chose to not put any witnesses on, any alternate theories in front of this jury with evidence and with witnesses. Why is that?
It was our decision at the time. We felt like we ended yesterday on a high note. The state put on 2 medical examiners. The first one, she went through a lot of proof with about what could have caused the death. And she ultimately, although she was she wavered a lot, I felt like she contradicted her report. And I felt like she opened the possibility that she said it could have been from SIDS, it could have been from a rollover, and it could have been from an accident. So I felt good about that. The other medical examiner they put on was very evasive, but finally, after being threatened with contempt of court for not answering questions, she finally stated that, in fact, she could not conclude where the child was when she died. Specifically, was the child wrapped in the blanket in tinfoil. She could not conclude that. So I felt like we ended on a high note, so we didn't put on proof.
Here's where I see you got to admit that there's just a lot of bad facts for your client, right? That's what we call them. In this business, we call them bad facts. And the jury is not immune to that. Why not call the boyfriend? His name is Hunter Wood. If there was some accidental rollover, would Hunter Wood not answer those questions the way maybe you'd want the jury to hear?
The boyfriend, Hunter Wood, is unavailable. He is in a mental hospital in Marion, Virginia. Both the state and I have tried to obtain his presence. We were unable to do that.
What about mom and dad, Megan Boswell's family members? Would they have taken the stand to help her navigate, at least help the jury navigate through Megan's versions of the story?
They weren't present. Her dad did take the stand. He was one of the first witnesses the state called. If you'll recall, he was the witness who he reported Evelyn missing sometime, I think, in February of 2018, or 2020, I'm sorry, February 18th of 2020.
But he wouldn't get on the stand to back her and keep her from a murder conviction?
Well, there would be no reason to call him. He wasn't there when the child died. He couldn't say one way or the other what happened to the child.
Well, he might be able to testify to the lying and why. It feels as though and I sat through the entire Casey Anthony case, verdict, everything, jury selection, you name it. It felt like that jury needed to hear something other than what the prosecutors laid out. And Jose Baez and team, they gave that. They handed the jury a whole other way that it could have happened. And as we know, we were all gobsmacked, right, when the jury came back with not guilty. Are you confident that's what's going to happen in your case?
I'm hopeful that's what will happen in my case. I've left this in God's hands. Megan has left this in God's hands. We put on the best defense we could put on, given the circumstances and the facts we were dealt. I felt like we were very effective with both medical examiners in being able to at least show to the jury that this is not a certainty of how the child died. And in any murder case, you need a cause of death. They don't have one. Am I certain that'll work? Absolutely not. But it was the best defense we could put on.
And of course, she did not take the stand in this case either. So I hope you will come back, Gene Scott, when we have a verdict and talk about this. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.